What
Chiếu này
if
đẹp,
the
mua cho phòng
true
cưới nhá.
beginning of marriage
với lại thêm
doesn't
cặp gối đỏ
start
này
at the
nữa.
Được
altar,
rồi, chọn thêm
but
chăn đi.
in the
Vâng, em
quiet
thích bộ này.
aisles of a home decor store?
Is
One
this
month
part
before their
clear?
wedding,
Yes, but
Huyen
add
and
more
Day
detail
set
here.
out to choose simple things, blankets, pillows, and decorations for their future room. Yet each soft fabric they touched and every gentle melody they discovered became a symbol of something deeper. From carefully testing pillows to selecting fairy lights and a sentimental music box, they weren't just shopping, they were building a dream. This is the story of how love transforms ordinary moments into the very foundation of a lifelong home. The morning sunlight spilled gently across the quiet streets as Huyen slipped her hand into Day's, her fingers warm and slightly trembling with excitement. It was a simple weekend, no grand celebration, no special occasion marked on the calendar, yet to them it felt monumental. In just a month, they would be married. A month until vows were spoken, until promises turned into a shared last name, a shared home, a shared life. Today, they were not merely going shopping, they were stepping into the first tangible chapter of their future together. The thought alone made Huyen's heart flutter. As they entered the home decor center, a soft chime rang above the glass doors, welcoming them into a world of delicate fabrics, warm lighting, and carefully arranged displays. Rows of bedding sets stretched before them in shades of ivory, blush, sage, and pale blue. Huyen paused at the entrance for a moment, taking it all in. She imagined their bedroom bathed in golden lamplight, the curtains gently swaying in the evening breeze, the bed neatly made with the very blankets they were about to choose. The vision felt so real that she could almost see herself there, sitting at the edge of the bed, waiting for Day to finish brushing his teeth, laughing about something trivial before turning out the lights. Day, practical yet quietly sentimental, pulled out his phone and opened the list he had carefully prepared: blanket, mattress topper, pillows, decorative cushions. He pretended to be serious, but Huyen noticed the small smile tugging at the corner of his lips. He was just as moved as she was. He simply carried it differently. They walked slowly along the aisle, their shoulders brushing occasionally, neither in a hurry. Every few steps, Huyen would stop to touch a fabric, pressing it gently between her fingers, testing its softness as though she were evaluating not just material, but comfort, security, the feeling of home. She lifted a cream-colored comforter, its surface smooth and cool against her cheek. "Do you think this would match our room?" she asked softly, her voice carrying both curiosity and a hint of shyness. Day turned to look, not at the blanket, but at her. The overhead lights reflected in her bright eyes, and in that instant, he felt an overwhelming tenderness. "If you love it, then it's already perfect." It was not an extravagant declaration, not a poetic speech, but it carried sincerity so deep that Huyen felt her cheeks warm. They continued exploring, discussing colors and textures as if they were architects designing a dream. Yet beneath their practical choices lay something far more intimate: hope. With every fabric they touched and every item they considered, they were silently picturing mornings waking up side by side, evenings whispering about their day, rainy nights wrapped together beneath the blankets they were about to buy. The store around them faded into a blur of soft music and distant footsteps. In that moment, surrounded by bolts of fabric and neatly folded quilts, Huyen and still holding on to that quiet glow of anticipation, they drifted toward the pillow and bedding section, where the atmosphere felt softer somehow, more intimate. The shelves were stacked high with pillows of every size and firmness: memory foam, feather-filled, hypoallergenic, orthopedic, each promising perfect rest and sweet dreams. Dee instinctively stepped forward first this time, pressing his palm into one pillow, then another, testing their resilience with careful attention. His brows furrowed slightly in concentration, as though he were making a decision of great consequence. Huyen watched him with affectionate amusement, realizing that this was how he loved: quietly, thoughtfully, through details others might overlook. He picked up a medium firm pillow and gently squeezed it before placing it back, unsatisfied. Too stiff, he murmured, half to himself. He tried another, softer this time, letting it rise slowly back into shape after the pressure of his hand. Maybe this one, he said, glancing at her. I want you to sleep well. The simplicity of his words carried an unspoken promise to protect her rest, her peace, her comfort in every way he could. Huyen felt her chest tighten with emotion. Marriage, she realized, was not only about ceremonies or photographs, it was hidden in gestures like this, in someone worrying about whether your pillow would be soft enough at the end of a long day. She joined him, playfully pressing 2 pillows at once and laughing when one nearly slipped from her arms. We should get extra, she suggested, in case we argue and build a pillow wall. Her teasing tone was light, but beneath it was the awareness that they were entering a new stage of life, one where differences would arise and compromises would matter. Dee smiled, shaking his head. There won't be any walls, he replied gently, not even pillow ones. His confidence was not arrogance, it was faith in them. They moved on to choose bolster pillows and decorative cushions. Huyen selected a pair with delicate floral embroidery, imagining them resting neatly against the headboard, adding a touch of warmth and personality to the room. Dee, meanwhile, found a simple beige throw blanket and draped it over his arm, picturing quiet evenings when they would sit side by side, perhaps reading or simply talking about their day. He could almost hear the soft hum of conversation, the comfortable silence that only 2 people deeply at ease with each other could share. Nearby, they discovered a selection of woven mats and bed runners. Huyen ran her fingertips along the textured surface of a light-toned mat, imagining it beneath their feet each morning. I want our room to
Em giữ chắc
feel
nha, anh
warm,
đóng đây.
she said
Vâng, anh đóng đi.
thoughtfully.
Xong
Not
một
just
mảnh như này.
beautiful,
Đẹp
but
quá anh ơi.
welcoming.
Cùng làm nhá.
Dee nodded. It will be, he answered, because we'll be in it. As they placed each carefully chosen item into their cart, it felt less like shopping and more like assembling fragments of a shared dream. Every pillow represented rest after effort. Every cushion symbolized comfort after hardship. And though the store remained filled with strangers browsing their own purchases, for Huyen and Dee, the world had narrowed to the quiet understanding between them, a steady rhythm of love growing stronger with every deliberate choice. With their cart now layered in soft neutrals and carefully chosen comforts, Huyen and Dae made their way to the final section of the store, the aisle dedicated to decor and finishing touches. If the bedding had been about rest and the pillows about comfort, this part felt like personality, like the quiet signature they would leave on their shared space. The lighting here was gentler, strands of sample fairy lights glowing faintly against the shelves, casting tiny reflections across glass vases and polished frames. Huyen slowed her steps, instinctively drawn to the shimmer. She reached for a string of warm white lights, lifting it delicately as though it were spun from stardust. Imagine these above the headboard, she said softly, her eyes bright with possibility. In her mind, she could already see the room at night, lamps turned low, fairy lights glowing like distant constellations, their shadows merging on the wall. Dae watched her, not with impatience, but with admiration. He loved how she envisioned spaces not just as rooms, but as stories waiting to unfold. It would feel like our own little world, he replied, and the sincerity in his voice made the idea even more real. They moved on to photo frames, wooden, metallic, minimalist, ornate. Huyen chose a simple wooden frame with natural grain patterns, running her thumb along its smooth edge. For our wedding photo, she whispered, almost reverently. The thought of a captured moment, her in white, him waiting at the end of the aisle, sent a quiet thrill through her. Dae nodded, imagining that same frame resting on a bedside table, a daily reminder of promises spoken and lives entwined. He added it to the cart carefully, as though already protecting that future memory. Then, almost unexpectedly, Dae paused in front of a small shelf of music boxes. He picked one up, a delicate piece with a glass lid and a tiny rotating figurine inside. He wound it gently, and a soft melody drifted into the air, light and nostalgic. Huyen turned toward him, surprised by the tenderness in his expression. I want something that plays when we need to remember why we started, he said quietly.
The music seemed to wrap around them, subtle yet deeply moving. It wasn't about grand gestures. It was about anchoring their love in small rituals, opening the box on difficult days, letting the melody remind them of laughter, of choice, of devotion. By the time they reached the cashier, their cart held more than fabric and decor. It carried intention. It carried whispered dreams and silent vows. The cashier scanned each item, unaware that these were not just purchases, but pieces of a life being assembled with care. When they finally stepped back out into the afternoon light, their hands full of shopping bags, Huyen instinctively leaned her head against Day's shoulder. The city moved around them in its usual rhythm, but for them, everything felt suspended in gentle certainty. "I don't need a perfect room," she murmured, her voice steady and full. "I just need us." Day tightened his grip on her hand, a quiet promise passing between them without further words. And as they walked toward the future they had begun building aisle by aisle, thread by thread, they understood something profound. A home is not defined by walls or furniture, but by the love that breathes within it. Their wedding room would soon stand ready, but more importantly, so would they.
Hello, xin chào tất cả các khán giả của kênh Live Single RV. Vậy là câu chuyện của chúng ta ngày hôm nay đã kết thúc tại đây. Trong câu chuyện của chúng ta ngày hôm nay thì Huyền và Đệ đã lên danh sách những đồ dùng cần mua cho phòng cưới của hai người. Hai người đã tiến hành luôn việc đi chợ và mua tất cả những đồ dùng như chăn, chiếu, gối và những đồ trang trí phòng cưới để về trang trí phòng cưới. Căn phòng cưới của Huyền Đệ từ đơn sơ bây giờ trở thành rực rỡ sắc màu và rất là đầy đủ các đồ đạc, đặc biệt là chiếc giường cưới do chính tay Huyền và Đệ thiết kế và làm nên. Hai người ngồi ngắm thành quả của mình không khỏi vui mừng và ôm nhau cảm động. Hy vọng rằng cuộc sống của Huyền Đệ sau này sẽ có nhiều sự thuận lợi hơn và bé Mai A sẽ được sống trong tình thương của cả hai người. Câu chuyện hấp dẫn về gia đình Huyền Đệ sẽ còn được kể ở các video tiếp theo. Các bạn đừng quên bấm vào nút đăng ký kênh sẽ nhận được thông báo mới nhất về câu chuyện sẽ được phát sóng hàng ngày trên kênh Live Single RV nhé. Cảm ơn các bạn rất nhiều đã luôn theo dõi ủng hộ Huyền Đệ. Thanks for watching my video. Bye bye.